I've been getting on here and reading some chapters from some of my old books, and for this new book I've got coming out, I've been reading some of those. But tonight's going to be a little bit different. I think what I'd like to do tonight, I'm going to spend a little bit of time, and instead of reading a chapter, I want to kind of talk about how one of these chapters um, came about, and just maybe kind of tell a story. It's from my second book called Lessons from a Dirt Road. And the chapter is called Hanging On versus Letting Go, I believe. I don't have the book in front of me, but it's just coming from memory. Um, and this kind of set the stage here. I was in Southeast Arkansas hanging out with some buddies of mine, having a couple cold beers, sitting around a fire over around Pendleton Bridge and the levee over there. And we were just kind of talking about things that old friends do. We hadn't seen each other in a while. We were kind of playing catch up a little bit and talking about our kids and families and kind of remember when type stuff. And getting big laughs. We hadn't seen each other in a while, like I said, but then one of the guys said something pretty profound. He said, "Hey man, when do you know when it's time to let go, or should you keep holding on?" And when I sat down and kind of thought about that for a minute, I didn't answer really quickly, because that could have meant a lot of different things. It could have meant something like, it could have been talking about his job. He could have been talking about some old relationships or some old friendships, and and he could have even been going a little bit deeper, which is kind of gave me a room for pause. He could have been talking about checking out forever. So I wasn't so quick to give out an answer. So I started asking him questions, kind of leading type questions like, "Hey, tell me a little bit more about this. What are you talking about?" When it all boiled down to what he was talking about a relationship with his wife. And so that kind of took a whole nother meaning. So I started asking questions, and the mood kind of changed, I guess, as it would. But they had been married for a long time, and I've known his wife, known her for a long time, almost as long as I've known him, and they've been married for a while and raised a couple great kids, and they were kind of on, kind of by themselves. The kids were gone, and um, they were trying to figure things out again, and it had been for a long period of time. It had been every decision they had made had been revolved around the kids, and they had kind of forgot each other. It's kind of what it boiled down to. And he kind of said, "I'm not getting what I need." Is what he had mentioned. Basically, it's kind of what it boiled down to. Um, he wasn't, I guess what we call it, his relationship account or his love account. It's kind of like a checking account, Um, you know, it's kind of akin to that, so to speak. And if all you do is give to other people, and people aren't giving back to you, it's kind of the same as if you had a checking account and all you did was just take money out of that checking account and take and withdraw, and you don't ever put any deposits in. Eventually, that checking account is going to go to zero, has no overdraft, right? And so when you go to that checking account and you try to pull money out, there's nothing in there because nobody's put any deposits in, because all you've done is take. And that's the same thing with this relationship he was talking about. All he felt in his mind, all he was doing was giving, but he wasn't getting in return. And what he needed was to know, maybe kind of be reassured, know that he was appreciated and know that he was valued and that he meant something to her and to his family. And so, and I get that. I told him, I said, "I understand, man." He said, there's a lot of times that I think that I think all these nice things I want to do for her, for his wife. And then he said, but when I get right down to it, he said, what's the use? He said, because in his mind, it wasn't coming in return, and he was empty. His account was empty, so to speak. And I understood, but um, he continued to talk, and when he finished, I kind of asked him. I just said, what's your wife's love language? What fills her tank? What fills her tank or her account? And he just said, I can't remember. It's been so long. And I just said, you know what? There's a chance that, her account's probably about as empty as yours. Maybe that's something y'all should sit down and have an honest conversation about. And so, long story short is they did. They actually had a conversation. And again, this dates back, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago. But they actually had a conversation, and everything. Their relationship now, according to him, is stronger than it's ever been. They're going on date nights once every couple of weeks, and even if it's just to go and grab ice cream or go do whatever, they're making it a point to spend time together. And I think that was pretty profound on what he decided to do, and that's kind of where that chapter came about. It was when's the time to let go? And my thought to him was, and what I told him, I said, as long as the door's still cracked, there's still hope. So our job is to make sure that door doesn't shut the whole way, and if it does, to beat it back down and beat it open. So those relationships that are worth fighting for, we continue to maintain, and we start filling that tank and take our eyes off ourselves. And when we're feeling down, take our eyes off ourselves and go help somebody else. So anyway, just kind of wanted to share that story, and that's kind of how that chapter came about. Hopefully it didn't ramble too much, and hopefully you got something from it. So anyway, y'all have a good night. God bless. I'm going home. See you.